this is a message that everyone needs to hear. Anyone who's investing time right now, whether it's social media or any other marketing technique. So I remember when you were, I think it was last year or year before last, you released a video, and in that video you spoke about doing the first webinar or running the first automated webinar and doing a product launch, etc., and how back when you first started doing that, you had X, like your ROI was X.
Right.
And then over time, the more you did it, and the more other people saw you do it, and then modeled after you, and all of a sudden it spread, and everyone's doing it. All of a sudden, the average return from doing something like that was X divided by 10, 20, and then X divided by 100, and then all of a sudden you found yourself investing way more time, way more effort, way more money to basically get 1/10 or 1/100th of an ROI of something that used to work really well but doesn't seem to work as well anymore. And so it created this, and that happened to you over and over and over again. So can you talk a little bit about that? I do realize that I just pretty much shared the whole idea, but can you talk a little bit about that, the way the industry is developing, and what are you seeing right now in relation to this concept of diminishing returns?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's something that most people, when they're exposed to it, think it's obvious in hindsight, but they don't operate that way before kind of like thinking it through. And that is that, no matter what strategy, tactic, etc., as it relates to marketing, and this happened offline as well, but it happens online too. There's a law of diminishing returns over time that as the more people that do a tactic, a strategy over time, the less powerful, the less effective it is over time. And so it's less powerful, and also you have to do more in order to stand out using that. And that what I found, which was really interesting, when I looked at my own successes and those of my clients, what I found is that my own successes, as well as the majority of my clients' successes, came from a single tactic or strategy at early in its life cycle, like soon after its innovation, before most people were using it. And that isn't to say that you need to have everything that you're doing in marketing be at the cutting edge, because that's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying, though, as it relates to this degrading performance, is that nothing that is well known that everybody's doing is going to cause you momentum or growth because you're using it. So there was a time, like when I wrote the Internet Business Manifesto, where having a PDF lead magnet was like, could actually grow your business. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have like a PDF lead magnet today. It just means that it's not going to grow your business today. It's necessary, but not, it's necessary, but it doesn't cause success, right? It's not sufficient to cause success. And so, automated webinars, live streaming, all of these at one moment in time could actually give your business a thrust, like extra momentum, because it was all of a sudden outperforming everything else. And then over time it degrades, but you still might need it because it's part of your marketing mix. And so my experience has been that as long as a business has one or two of these strategies or tactics early in its inception, like they have what they need to have that level of increased momentum to actually cause something powerful to happen. Because like online, you need some sort of advantage or you're kind of screwed. And this is one way to kind of have that advantage. And it stems from, when I wrote reports back in 2006 to 2008, I wrote the Internet Business Manifesto, and then I wrote two kind of follow-up pieces to that, the missing chapter and the final chapter. But then I wrote two reports called the Attention Age Doctrine 1 and 2. And in the Attention Age Doctrine 1, I talked about how attention was going to become the scarcest commodity online. and what the implications of that were. And then in the Attention Age Doctrine 2, it was about how I thought people's attention was going to go to this new thing, Web 2, social media, right? And what are the implications of that? And what I took away from writing that back in 2007 was that all attention has value, right? Like back then, when I was writing the report, there was something called the $1 Million homepage, where a person created just a homepage and they sold pixels. Like, and if you like above the fold was $1 million, and people bought all the pixels, and it was like this viral thing that everyone was going to check out who bought, different online casinos bought pieces and stuff like that, right? And that like Paris Hilton, this is back in 2007, was getting paid over $100,000 to show up at a nightclub, because that nightclub would get a ton of press that Paris Hilton showed up at that nightclub and would get more than $100,000 worth of press. And so she was getting paid because she brought attention with her, right? And there were these vending machines, I think they still have them in Japan, that you paid not with currency for like a beer or a soda. You actually watched like 2 minutes of ads, and then it would give you a beer or a soda, right? Like, and
wow.
so like this idea of attention having currency.
Yo, it's Igor. I want you to have my Amazon best-selling book for free for taking the time to listen to my podcast and to watch my YouTube videos. Now, I'm not only going to give you this book for free, but I'm going to throw in about $3.2 thousand in free bonuses. Now, if you want to get this book, please click the link in the description, or you can also go to igorsbook.com. And now, back to the podcast.
And, the very first time that I was exposed to like the impact of a change in this particular case format, but a change in strategy or tactic, et cetera, and the power that it could have was with magalogs. So this was offline, right? And when magalogs, for those that don't know what a magalog is, it's a sales letter that has been packaged to look like a magazine. And so it has generally it has valuable content in it. Most of the big publishers, info publishers, newsletters in health and finance and stuff like that used magalogs. I'm sure I have a ton laying around here if I just were to like grab one. But when direct mailers moved to magalogs, they had like a 200%, 300%, 400% increase in response that lasted for a couple of years until like everybody was mailing magalogs, and now it no longer had that impact, right? And the reason for that is that and this is just my belief, I don't have like proof of this, but my belief of why that worked was that it tricked people in a way to get extra bits of their attention, because it wasn't like, oh, this is just a, junk mail kind of thing. And it's the same reason why like a webinar, or before the webinars, teleseminars, or video sales letters, why they worked so well in the beginning. I remember the very first time I saw a video sales letter and I was like, what the hell is that? Like I was just stuck on the screen looking at it. And other people had that impact too. And so in the beginning, like these things have the ability to get you extra attention. And because they have the ability to get you extra attention, which is worth so much, it translates into increased effectiveness in the mechanism, and just because of the added attention. And so that is the idea behind that. And that's why I developed the product, Steal Our Winners, because what we deliver to people are strategies and tactics that are earlier in their inception that most people don't know about yet. And because I know how vital it is to the growth of a business, that's something, that we publish twice a week and so forth. But I think that what's most interesting to me at this moment, right, is definitely, it's January 24th on a Tuesday, right? So what's most interesting to me right now is ChatGPT and all the things that can be done with it. So, I'm looking forward to doing a couple episodes on that. Certain people have figured out different prompts and the way the prompt should go to get different types of output. I've also seen, two cool things that were really more just tests, but kind of showed the power potentially. Someone who I follow loaded up a bunch of transcripts of Dr. Andrew Huberman's podcast and into a chat GPT. And then like the chat GPT is ask Andrew Huberman, right? So you can ask, it goes through all of his interviews and all his podcasts, and it's like being able to ask him a question through chat GPT. And then someone else who I was reading just loaded all their journals into chat GPT and like had like chat GPT be able to help analyze themselves like through like when was this person most happy, what different things like that. And so it's pretty interesting, and I think there's like tremendous possibilities with that. And even though that does obviously overlap into marketing, I would say that from a marketing side, that's what I'm most excited about just at this moment. As someone who's done a ridiculous amount of reading and research and note-taking over the last 10 years, the idea of being able to feed everything that I've taken notes on and recorded and read and loaded into a system that I can interact with is like insanely desirable. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes from there. And then I don't know what the implications are. Like the bigger implications in marketing are going to be pretty extreme, especially when Chat GPT 4 comes out. I just don't know how that's going to impact the content world, because you would imagine it will in a very significant way.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be out of a job. The SEO algorithm will change again. It'll be a whole new world, which actually brings us.
Just one thing on that, I was just reminded, I was talking to someone about ChatGPT, and they were younger than me. They were in their 20s, and they were into it too. And I was like, oh, so where are you? Like, where have you been finding good content? Because my go-tos are like Google, right? If I want to read some articles, I might go to Medium and do a search. I'll go to YouTube and like do some searching there. And those are generally like the places I go to first, right? This person went to TikTok, and they were doing a search in TikTok. And I thought that was strange, right? And then my daughters were home for the Christmas holidays, and my oldest daughter, who does do social media stuff, she's worked for Barstool and a bunch of others, and she's like, yeah, that's how I do my searching. I search in TikTok. If there's something I want to find out, I do a search in TikTok. Wow. Right? Like, and it's just things change, things evolve over time, right? Like, and ChatGPT might take over Google at some point anyway, because it's better to ask a question than do a search for keywords. But like, my daughters hardly use email. They use email only to like talk to older people like me, right? And to talk to like school and stuff like that. But they're not like, they don't use email like, we use email, and they don't even use Google for search, right? Like, and so it's just, things evolve over time, and being able to spot how these things are evolving, if you're towards the forefront as opposed to behind, you capitalize on it the most, right? Like the time to blow up on Facebook and Instagram are long gone. They're over.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't mean that you shouldn't be on Instagram and Facebook, but you're not going to build a 2 million follower Instagram account today like you could 5 years ago if you had started 5 years ago. And so, knowing that is then to recognize like, well, where is the next thing going to be? Let me go over there first so that I can at least like have the possibility of doing that. And I've seen that time and time again, right? Like of people who got on early to different platforms being able to benefit from it dramatically, And I think that like being aware of that just helps you be a better marketer.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's a great transition into, presenting you with a spotlight to talk a little bit about Steal Our Winners, because I believe that's like the project where you're putting most of your attention these days. And I think it's a tremendous project. I kind of, when people ask me about it, I kind of call it Netflix for internet marketers, Netflix for entrepreneurs, really. But I think it's a little bit more than that. So can you maybe spend the next, give us the elevator pitch of what it is and tell us where we can go and check it out?
Sure. It's like we were talking about, it's strategies and tactics that are currently crushing it online that most of the world doesn't know about yet. And so we have about 200 plus contributors, of which you're one of them, all at the top of their game, who share strategies that are currently working in a way that it's easy to replicate and do. And so they run from everything from media buying to creating a YouTube channel to TikTok advertising, you name it. Like, we run a wide gamut. It's available at strategicprofits.com, and we have like a trial offer, I'm sure, but it's strategicprofits.com. And the idea is that most people never have the chance of getting a strategy or tactic when it's early and in a way that's very easy to follow. And so we publish 2 episodes a week. They're anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes long, and they are all about someone who's figured out something that is working right now, that is that's really driving the needle towards success. And so we have, it's something that, from my experience, most people who are struggling online, one of the main reasons they're struggling online is that they're using all tactics that cannot provide momentum. And that's natural to kind of fall into, because that's just like what everyone's doing. But what everyone's doing will not give you an advantage and won't give you momentum. So if you're looking for what will really move the needle in marketing, come check us out at Strategic Profits. And the name is Steal Our Winners is the name of the product.
Awesome, guys. So you heard him. It's strategicprofits.com. Check it out. It's called Steal Our Winners. It's video content, video format, so you can watch it even when your brain doesn't want to do any heavy lifting. I actually tend to watch it on the weekends. And I'll give a testimony for this. The last episode I watched was an episode you've done with Chris Haddad. Mm-hmm. And he shared his YouTube ad structure, basically a YouTube ad that he uses in the teaching women relationships or something like that niche. And he, what I really liked about it is, if I were to see this ad and I would be like, oh, that's really cool, I want to model that, without him breaking down the context and why it works, I wouldn't be able to model it successfully. But I watched the episode, which I think was 30 minutes, but I only watched like 15 minutes because I kind of skipped to the meat and potatoes. And then the same moment, I sat down, I put up the slides on screen, and I basically copied this ad, only replacing certain benefits and features and changing the contents of it to fit my niche. I ran it the next day, and basically now it's become one of the 3 YouTube ads that I run nonstop. So, I mean, that's really powerful, like, because I don't get to say that about too many tactics. I definitely don't get to say that about too many services out there that claim they provide cutting edge techniques, but in reality, they're only built to kind of support the bias of the owner of the service, where they sort of reiterate the same thing over and over again. With your service, it's really just like a Vegas buffet of techniques and strategies, scripts, templates, pages, ads, traffic sources. It's crazy. Like, it feels like a candy store for someone like me who wants to be on the cutting edge of marketing. So I highly recommend checking out the Steal Our Winners at strategicprofits.com for sure.